All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle one of the most famous, most mysterious, and let's be honest, one of the wildest books ever written, the Book of Revelation. You know the one? It's filled with four-headed creatures, seven sealed scrolls, and these insane visions that have captivated and totally confused people for centuries. But what if we've been reading it all wrong?
I mean, for a lot of people, Revelation just feels like this frightening, super detailed roadmap to the end of the world. It's treated like a secret code, predicting future wars, plagues, and catastrophes. And yeah, that view has inspired countless movies and books. But what if that was never its main point at all?
Here's the thing. The consensus among scholars today is that Revelation was never meant to be a crystal ball. Its goal wasn't to give us a play-by-play of future events. It was written to use powerful symbols to reveal a heavenly perspective on the struggles its original audience was facing. It was a message of hope, a message of endurance, for a very specific group of people in a very specific time and place.
So, to really decode Revelation, we need a few keys. And the very first, most important key is understanding who this letter was actually written for. Because this isn't some abstract theological document. It was personal. It was a letter. See, Revelation was a real letter, a circular actually, sent by a man named John to 7 actual communities in the Roman province of Asia, which is basically modern-day Turkey. You can see them right here on the map. A real person would have traveled this exact route, probably on foot or by donkey, delivering this message to each one. And these weren't mythical places. No, these were real congregations in major, bustling cities like Ephesus and Laodicea, and each one was dealing with its own unique, very real problems. We're talking everything from false teachers and social pressure to just getting lazy and, of course, persecution. John knew these people. And what was their situation? Well, John tells us right there, suffering and pressure. He's writing this as an exile on the island of Patmos, and the people he's writing to, they were facing opposition, not just from some local groups, but crucially from the Roman imperial cult. This was a really big deal. Rome demanded that everyone worship the emperor as a god. For these early Christians, saying no could mean losing your job, being shunned by your neighbors, or even being killed. And far from being a chaotic jumble of visions, the book is incredibly structured. Just look at the letters to these 7 churches. Each one follows the exact same pattern, kind of like a formal royal edict from Christ himself. Every single time you get an address, a description of Jesus, some praise, some criticism, a solution, and then this final challenge. It's incredibly deliberate. Okay, so that leads us to our second key, which is all about the language itself. To get Revelation, you have to get the genre John was writing in. He wasn't just inventing a new weird style. He was actually using a very popular one at the time. He was writing what we call apocalyptic literature. Now, I know the word apocalypse sounds pretty terrifying, right? But the original Greek word, apocalypsis, it just means an uncovering or a revealing. That's it. It was a style of writing that used these vivid, symbolic visions to kind of pull back the curtain and show the heavenly meaning behind all the crazy stuff happening on Earth, especially during a crisis. So here's the absolute critical point. Apocalyptic writing is not literal history. A historian or a newspaper tells you what happened. An apocalyptic writer uses symbols to explore why it's happening, what it all means from a divine perspective. The best analogy? It's the difference between a news report and a political cartoon. A cartoon isn't literally true. The politician doesn't actually have a giant nose, but it uses exaggerated images to reveal a deeper truth. That's what John is doing. So let's be super clear, John isn't trying to give his readers a secret timeline of the 21st century. He's using these intense symbols, beasts, dragons, angels, to help first-century Christians see their present suffering from God's point of view. He's trying to show them that, yeah, it looks like chaos, but God is still on the throne. Okay, which brings us to our third and final key. If the book is all symbols, how in the world are we supposed to interpret them? Well, here's the secret. John wasn't just making them up. He wasn't pulling these wild images out of thin air. He was drawing from a deep well of imagery his readers would have instantly recognized. The Hebrew scriptures, what we call the Old Testament. Let's just take the central image of the entire book. It's amazing. John is told to look for the lion of the tribe of Judah, which is a classic symbol of a powerful, conquering king. But when he turns to look, he doesn't see a lion. He sees this, a lamb, looking like it had been slaughtered but standing up, alive. So what on earth does that mean? Well, this is John's whole method in a nutshell. He mashes symbols together to create a mind-blowing new message. The lion is all about the promised powerful king. The slain lamb points right to the Passover sacrifice and the suffering servant from the book of Isaiah.
And the 7 horns? That's an Old Testament symbol of perfect, complete power from the book of Daniel. So who's the real victor? Who really wins? It's the one who conquers, not with violence, but through sacrificial love. This is the completely upside-down logic of the entire book. Here's another big one. Babylon the Great. For anyone reading this back then, Babylon was a massive flashing sign pointing straight at one place, Rome. Why? Because just like the ancient Babylonian Empire had marched in, conquered Jerusalem, and destroyed its temple, Rome had done the exact same thing in the year 70. By calling Rome Babylon, John is making a really bold claim. He's saying that this seemingly invincible empire is going to end up just like the last one. And it's not just images. You got to pay attention to the numbers, too, especially the number 7. It is everywhere. 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls. In Jewish thought, 7 was the number of completeness, of perfection. So when John uses it over and over, he's signaling that something is complete, it's finished, it's part of God's perfect plan. Okay, so we've got our keys. We know the audience, we know the genre, and we know where the symbols come from. When we put all of that together, the central message of the entire book just pops right out. It becomes incredibly clear. Remember that structure we talked about? Well, each of those 7 letters ends with a promise to the one who overcomes or the one who is victorious. This phrase is the absolute heartbeat of Revelation. It's like the chorus of the song coming back again and again. It's the main challenge and the central promise of the whole book. So what does it mean to overcome? Well, it doesn't mean picking up a sword and fighting Rome. In the upside-down logic of Revelation, overcoming means patient endurance. It means staying faithful when the world around you is hostile. It means resisting the pressure to compromise and worship the power of the state, which John calls the beast. It's a call to trust that the way of the slain lamb, not the way of the empire, is the real path to victory. So when you get right down to it, Revelation isn't really about us. 2,000 years later, trying to match headlines to its visions. It was an urgent, passionate letter written to inspire courage and endurance in first-century Christians. It's a powerful piece of protest literature that challenged its readers to stand firm, no matter what it cost them. So, once we decode Revelation, we find it's not so much a scary prediction of the future, but a powerful guide to living faithfully in the present. And that leaves us with a pretty challenging question, doesn't it? If this book is fundamentally a message about how to live in a world full of crisis and pressure, what does its call to overcome through patient endurance and radical faithfulness mean for us right here, right now?